Paula, the principal, is our supervisor. She oversees what we do. You could say that teachers are supervisors for students, helping them, making sure they're doing the right things, checking on what they're doing. What I want you to try if you're working in a group, you can work with people in your group on this. If you're by yourself, just do it by yourself. Try to do numbers 2, 3, 4, and 5. And so that means you're going to stop at number 5, supersize, do that word, and then play the video again, and we'll check the work that you did on 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so right now it's time to pause the video, and once you're done with number 5, supervise, play the video again, and we'll check your work. Okay, so if you're hearing this part of the video, that means you're done with number 5, supervise. So let's take a look at what you came up with. Let's start with number 2, supermarket. So if I look at that word super, it's just like supervise was for number 1. So we could say this word means over. I'm going to add this to my chart right here, and you can add that to your chart if you don't already have that. The base word they did for us, it means market, and think about a market like if you go to a farmer's market, a place that might sell fruits, vegetables, or other food that people can buy. And so if we put these two words together, it's a supermarket is a word that kind of goes over or above what a market has. So it doesn't just have food, but it might have cleaning supplies, light bulbs, paper and pencils, lots of different things that you could use around your house besides just food. So for what this word means, I'm going to put that it means to have more than a market. And if you don't have exactly that, that's okay. You can have something close. As long as you're close to that, that's good. Let's go on to number 3 now, which is surtax. Now this is a word that maybe you weren't familiar with or you haven't heard it before you read this paper today. So if we look at the prefix sur, it means on top of, over, or above. And actually, probably the best meaning for the prefix in sur is on top of. So I'll put that in my prefix spot, and then the base word tax is a tax, and you hopefully might know what the word tax means. So if you go to a store and say you're buying a shirt like this, in Iowa you would pay a sales tax, which is 7%, and that's something that they add on top of whatever it costs. So a surtax is a tax on top of what you're already paying. So I'll add that to my last box. And now we're ready for number 4, superior. So my prefix here is super, and I'm going to say that it means over because that's what we put for number 1 and 2, supervise and supermarket. There's an X you'll see for the base word in superior, and that means that this word doesn't actually have a base, because if you took off super, all that would be left is IOR, and that does not spell a real word. So that's why this base has an X. But just think about the word superior. If you are superior to someone, maybe you're playing on a sports team and you're reading an article, and the author of the article says that the Iowa Hawkeyes were superior to Nebraska last weekend because they had a superior defense. So in that context, you would figure out that Iowa had a much better defense than the opposing team that maybe stopped the team from scoring as many points. So for what the word means, we could say superior means to be over something else. Okay, now we're ready for the last word that you did for this part, which is supersize. And so again, super means over, and size means size, okay, how big or small something is. Put those two parts together then, and it means oversized. We could even say to be oversized. I remember when I was a kid, McDonald's used to have supersized meals, which were really big, huge boxes of fries, really humongo drinks, and they got rid of their supersize because people were worried about eating too much unhealthy food. So they haven't had supersize for probably like 10 years or more. But that was something that the word supersize made me think of. So supersize being oversized, really a lot bigger than you would need something to be. Okay, so we've done our chart so far up to number 5, supervise. Go ahead and pause the video again, and this time finish the rest of this page doing numbers 6 through 10. That means your last word will be surpass, and when you get done with number 10, surpass, play the video again, and we'll check your answers for 6 through 10. Good luck. Okay, if you're playing the video now, that means you should have filled out 6 through 10 on your chart. So let's take a look at number 6, survive. The prefix there is sur, which again could mean on top of, over, or above. We have the base, viv, and viv means to live or be alive. So if we think of what it means to survive, let's say that you get lost in the woods, or maybe you were talking about the zombies that we did a couple weeks ago. You're trying to survive from the zombie horde. You have to bolt and run really fast. So sur in this case would mean probably above. Might be the best prefix for this one. And live and be alive. So you have to kind of do something above the normal to keep yourself alive in these really tough survival situations. Okay, our next word is surplus. So the base word plus means more, just like addition and subtraction. If you plus something, you're adding two or more things together. So plus means more, and sur means above. You could also say for this one it might mean over. They're pretty close. And having a surplus then means that we are above what we need, or we have more than what we need. So I'm thinking like maybe squirrels storing nuts for wintertime. If they had a surplus of nuts, they would have stored up more nuts than they actually would eat during the winter. Farmers might have a surplus of grain, which means they harvested a whole bunch of grain and now they have some extra stored up. So a surplus is having more than you need. And a lot of times you do hear it talked about with food, although you could use it in other ways too. Our next word is supernatural, number 8. So super means over. Natural, you can think about nature, things that happen naturally. Okay, so it's the opposite of being fake or artificial. So something that is supernatural is, I kind of think of this word in relation to maybe ghost stories, talking about things happening that are supernatural or above what we might experience in the natural world. So for what this means, I'll say over or above the natural world. The next one is Superman, which you might know if you've ever read comic books or watched the movies. Superman, the base word is man, so a person, a guy, and super is over or above. So we'll say for this one too, it could be over or above a regular man or person. And we'll find out in a little bit later on the story behind the creation of Superman, the comic book hero. Our last one was surpass. So the base word is pass, like to pass it to someone, give something to somebody else. So sur means above, and surpass means to go above or past someone else. And you can think of this kind of like being superior. They're not exactly synonyms, but they're kind of related. So if you, let's say that your dad was a really good basketball player in high school, and he set the school's all-time record. Well, if you grew up and played basketball in high school, and you broke your dad's record, you would be surpassing him because you were going above or beyond the record that he had set when he was in high school. So that's an example of where you might hear the word surpass. A lot of times it does happen with competition. Okay, so that should finish page 19. What you can do now is flip, and if your teacher's having you do page 20, that's the second part of this video. So go ahead and pause the video for right now, and I'll give you a second to turn to the next page, page 20. When you're there, play the video again. Okay, this part of our video we'll talk about page 20. At the top it says Part B, Combine and Create, and there's a picture of some kids playing jump rope, and then it says super words. The directions, I'll read those and you can follow along with me. Super and sur mean on top of or above. Tell what each of these words has to do with on top of or above. And the four words it gives us there are supervise. Number 2 is supermarket. So those words we had on the last page. And then we have two new words here, Super Bowl and surface. So take a second to think to yourself or with a partner maybe. Think about those four words and how would they relate to being on top of or above something. And write your word on the line, or write your answer on the line next to each of those words. Hey, I'll give you a minute to think about those. Okay, if we're thinking about these four words, I'm going to tell you what I think about with these words. That doesn't mean it's the absolute right answer. You could have something else too. But supervise, if I'm thinking of a supervisor or the actual act of supervising, which is to see how somebody is doing something, if they're doing a good job, or maybe giving them tips to improve. So to supervise means to be above someone like their boss. Okay, and give them directions. Number 2, we talked about the supermarket on our last page. So a market sells food, a supermarket goes above and has more than just food. Okay, kind of like a Target versus a super Target. That could be an example that you might relate that to. Number 3, the Super Bowl. Okay, there's lots of bowl games for football. There's only one Super Bowl. Which happens at the very end to determine who is the best football team in America. So the Super Bowl is above or beyond all the other bowls. It's the most important. And number 4, surface. Okay, you can have the base word for surface would be face, like the front of something, but a surface is above or on the top. So think of like the surface of a counter. Okay, it's the top of the counter. And then you might have other stuff down below, but the surface is on the very top. Okay, those are your 4 words for the combine and create part on page 20. This is the end of this video, but there is a second video that your teacher might give to you a little bit later on. And in that video, we'll talk about pages 20 and 21 and 22.